LinkedIn. And we should be going live right about now. All right. So welcome to Talent Tuesday. This is Live with Leah. Today is, what is today? Tuesday, July 27th. Thank you so much for joining us, all of you who are watching. I have a very special guest today, Marjorie Alexander, coming to us from ChenMed. Marjorie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm our little conversation before we got started is just like blowing my mind. It's so impressive. You have such an interesting history and work history and path that you got to where you're at now. And I'm so excited to share that with the guests, and also share, why you've been so successful in this place in creating, a great candidate experience.
Yes, absolutely.
So Marjorie, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to our live audience today? Let them know a little bit about you and what you are currently doing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Leah. So hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Is it Taco Tuesday? I think it is. So I'm Marjorie Alexander. I have been in physician recruitment for about 25 years. I'm currently the managing director of physician recruitment with ChenMed. ChenMed is a national healthcare organization. We're currently in about 12 states, but we're growing exponentially. So I'm looking forward to being very busy in the next few years. We're taking care of the neediest, poorest population, mainly the elderly. It's a great mission, and I'm very happy to be here. I've lived and worked as a recruiter in I think 4 different continents. I've lived and worked in Australia, the Middle East, Europe, and of course North America now. So this is a great place to be.
Thank you so much for sharing. You honestly have one of the most interesting career paths. We were just talking, and then you have an amazing, interesting family, which is super fun to talk about. So I might have you share that as well. But what I wanted to start with was how you got into physician recruiting to start with. What brought you to this space?
That's a good question, Leah. Nobody actually goes to school to become a physician recruiter, right? Or a recruiter.
No, nobody does.
So most recruiters, they fall into this type of role. I was actually working in east of Cleveland at a healthcare organization there, a hospital system. And I was working as a physician practice representative. And I actually had some time on my hand. And it happened that one physician ended up retiring. So famous last words. I should have just kept my mouth shut, Leah. I asked, who's going to replace this physician, and how are these patients going to be taken care of? And they said, well, we'll probably get a third-party search firm, and they'll get us another physician. And I'm like, wow, didn't know that existed. How much does that cost? And they said, well, maybe about $25,000. And I said, I have some time. Let me give it a try.
Oh, wow.
So I literally took a yellow. We had no cell phone. I was faxing flyers to residency programs. Nobody faxes anymore. Nobody uses yellow pages anymore. But I was literally calling the phone book, like they kind of do in the Air Force. Those recruiters in the Air Force, they literally call the phone book. And I was able to hire a physician. And it was such a thrill to find somebody like that that would take care of the patients in my own community that I lived. And I said, well, let me do another one. And
so you just volunteered. You volunteered to be a physician recruiter. Wow.
Yes, I talk too much, clearly. Yes, I volunteered and I offered, and my regular day job got pushed to the side. And all of a sudden, here I was, recruiting physicians full time, and I loved it. All specialties from all over the US. I loved it so much. It's such a great sense of accomplishment to recruit somebody and help your community and actually have a say in who you bring into the community to take care of your family and your neighbors. It's a really great feeling.
That you just have such an uplifting approach to recruiting. And I know that a lot of recruiters love their jobs. Don't get me wrong, but like you said, nobody goes to school to just be a recruiter, or they don't think about like, I'm going to be a recruiter, but it's a linchpin of an organization by having people like yourself and, people at my company who their day in and day out job is to find great talent and create great experiences for those candidates and bring them into a company where they're going to be happy, be successful, and they're going to stay. So, wow, I'm so happy that you volunteered at your job, that you had extra time to do some physician recruiting. And then you shared that you have done physician recruiting in different countries and different continents. That is rare because, usually you very much focus on one area, but you said that I loved your story about doing the project in the Middle East. If you wanted to share that with the audience.
Absolutely. I'll be happy to. Very unique. I was very blessed and humbled to be asked. So one of the things that I do for AAPPR, which is a national organization for physician recruitment, is I give presentations. This particular one was on applying lean principles to physician recruitment. So how to be more efficient, more effective. This was in Minnesota. And I remember there were about 300 people in the audience. And afterwards, people came up to me, great presentation. Can I have your slides? The usual request. And I remember talking to this one gentleman, and I actually thought he was a physician recruiter for a hospital system. And he was very interested in what I had to say. So I went back to Cleveland and looking at my email, I had an email from American Hospital Dubai, the CEO, asking me if I would be interested in interviewing for this role to set up the first in-house physician recruitment department in the Middle East. And I thought that can't be real. Right. So I had to Google him, of course. And yes, he was the CEO. And so I thought, wow, I just had both my sons left the house, single mom at the time. They were both out of state, and I'm in this house by myself with the cats. And I thought, why not? Boys are fine. They're great. They're grown up. Let me give this a go. And so I interviewed him, and I went, and I had an incredible experience. Met so many different people from different continents, and was able to set this up and make it run nice and efficiently and smoothly. Beautiful hospital, wonderful owners, wonderful people to work with. And it was very interesting because up until that point, Leah, I had only recruited people from the US.
Okay,
so
that's what I was going to ask. Were you recruiting international doctors?
I was.
Or was it, okay, so you were bringing people from all over?
Yeah, and it was actually easier than I thought. So we actually recruited people from Germany, England, South Africa, Australia. So I was given a list of those types of training programs that were accepted in Dubai. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to target those physicians in those countries, but people want to come to Dubai. It's such an experience. It's a very interesting place. And of course, there's some money to be made there. That's not a secret. So it was a great experience. I'm very, very glad that I did that.
So you have recruited physicians, not just that speak English, that are not just in the United States. You've recruited them, in Europe, in Australia, in the Middle East. Like that is just incredible. But one thing I want to ask you is, what's the one thing that you do, no matter where your candidate is from, or one or two or three things that you do, no matter where your candidate is from, no matter what language they speak? How do you make a great experience for that candidate? What are your key components of creating a great candidate experience?
That is such an important question, Leah, and very important for other recruitment professionals to hear. First of all, you have to make a connection. So if I come across I see a resume, or however I find this person, I'm trying to find something in common. Whether, I used to run marathons. If this is a runner, I have something to speak to this candidate about. If this person likes cycling or swimming or traveling, I have all sorts of stuff that I can talk to people to. So make that connection and make people feel like they're not just a person you're reaching out to. Make everything very personalized. Like, Leah, I saw your profile and I saw that you're blah, blah, blah. Instead of just a blanket outreach, make everything personalized. And then the second very, very important thing that crosses all international borders is trust. Building trust and always being honest and being transparent. The candidate is going to find out if this is a really bad neighborhood. So might as well tell them in advance. Right.
They're going to Google
the address. Yes. Let's look at this together and let's see where the nearest Macy's is, or let's see where so very transparent and very honest. Building that trust is so important. So those are the two things I would say are, no matter where you recruit or who you recruit, those are very important for the candidate experience.
Yeah, no, that is wonderful. So for those of you just joining us and logging in today, my guest is Marjorie Alexander. She is coming to us from ChenMed. She is the managing director of physician recruitment, and she has an incredible career path of how she got there. She has been a VP and director of recruitment on 4 different continents, and she has an incredible amount of experience. And we're talking today about how her best practices in creating a great candidate experience. And I loved what you said, Marjorie, about the transparency, right? They're going to read things on the internet. They're going to see if somebody left bad reviews. And I think a lot of recruiters try to hide that stuff or try to make it not a big deal. But I love your approach of just taking it head on and saying, these are the issues. Find that being more open and honest with candidates leads to better results, either them saying, I'm going to pull out of the process or I'm going to take this job.
Absolutely. First of all, being open and honest and transparent, it's an ethical issue. You have to be. If you are an ethical recruiter, you don't, pretend that an opportunity is something that is not. A lot of times people, and especially in my field where we hire physicians, they bring their spouse, their friends. It's just an ethical obligation to be honest and transparent. And once the trust is built with the candidate, you'll be with that candidate throughout the entire candidate life cycle. When you're recruiting and you're thinking of the candidate experience, don't forget, once they become an actual employee, they were a candidate, now they're an employee, reach out to them, stay in touch with them and ask for referrals. And, it's a great way to stay in touch.
I have another recruiter in mind that's been recruiting for, I think, 20 years. And what was really interesting to myself and my boss, Wallace, is when we talk to people at that organization and they might have 2,000 or 5,000 people that work there, most of the people knew who this recruiter was. And because she has always continued to keep a relationship, she checks in on them. She asks for referrals. She, lets them know about internal transfer jobs that they may be interested in, because she truly cares about the organization. And I think that that's what sets, not only the candidate experience apart, but great recruiters apart, of people who are able to bring in great talent. So I'm loving what you're sharing today. I wanted to ask you some more fun and light questions a little bit for the audience to get to know Miss Marjorie Alexander a bit more. So you shared with me you have a son who is an actual rocket scientist, right? You also let me know you were a flight attendant, an international flight attendant, and you used to run marathons. So you're incredible. You have just a lot of things going on. So my question is,
I've done a lot of stuff.
Right? And that's just like scratching the surface in maybe 30 minutes of talking to you in my entire life. And I'm finding all this out. So if you were able to host a talk show, right? Like on TV or radio or podcast or whatever it is, you got to host your own show. What would you talk about? What would the show be about?
Oh, that's such a great question. I think building relationships, networking and building relationships. I think no matter what job you're in, like my son, I have 2 boys, one is in Houston, one is in the Netherlands. And my son, who's the rocket scientist, his name is Connor. I'm telling him, you have to network, you have to build relationships, because as we all know, a lot of times it's who you know, not necessarily what you know. What you know helps, it's important as well, but just networking and being out there not only helps you personally, but you're able to help other people connect as well. Because how many times any other social media platform can you introduce me to XYZ? I see that you're connected. And how great. I mean, this is free. You can help somebody progress in their professional adventure. And it's just something you can do for somebody. That's just a great gift you can give somebody.
I like that you say that, because I have used LinkedIn for a long time, since I started my professional career many, many years growth. And I love commenting on the career moves they're making and seeing where they're going and reaching out to people. And I've had a lot of people reach out and say, hey, can you connect me with this person? And I always welcome that. I try to be a connector, and because if I ever need that in the future, if I want to meet somebody, that I want to have on my show or that I want to work with in the future, I want that reciprocity of somebody being like, yeah, not a problem. I will certainly connect you. So I think that that's a great idea. A networking show. Okay. I'm on board with that. Well, that's wonderful. So I have a couple other fun questions to ask you. I know, so you do have a pet, right? You said that you have cats or one cat?
I have one cat. His name is Sebastian.
Oh, how fun. Okay. Have you always been a cat person?
Yes, actually, growing up, my parents always had parrots. We act as crazily. I think we had about 9 parrots at one point. They were all talking to each other. They were all screaming at each other, and so we ended up giving some of these parrots away to a bird zoo in Holland called Avifauna, and we kept them together, and they were all able to live together in this bird park, beautiful environment. They were able to actually fly and not be in a cage and things like that. But after that, we always had cats, and I remember one time, even when we had the parrots, the cat would walk by the parrots' cages. And the parrot would look down at the cat and say, hello. And I thought that was just so funny. So they had a great relationship. So
Oh, that's wonderful. I love pet people. I have dogs, and I always ask about people's pets because I know that that's super important in a lot of people's lives. It's important in mine. So, okay. So I have a couple more questions regarding, the candidate experience. And
yes.
I know when you said that when you first started, you were doing fax machine and yellow pages. Well,
yes.
People don't do that anymore, right? Right.
Which is good because that wouldn't work right now.
Right. It's kind of slow and, not maybe the most efficient. So what have you seen what have you seen change with the increase of use of technology? Have you seen the candidate experience get better or get worse? Because I've heard from both sides.
Yes. I was just going to say, Leah, both. So it's so easy to hide behind email. So I remember one time we had a recruiter who we were wondering, we never heard her speak, and she was just emailing everybody. And she just was hiding behind email, and of course wasn't very successful. So you can't hide behind technology, whether it's texting or emailing or LinkedIn or social media. You have to every now and then pick up the phone and make that personal connection with people. So sometimes it's good to go back to old school, even sending something in the mail. Nobody does that. How great is it that somebody might actually do that? You stand out. So you have to think about, what do other people do? We know that it takes about 7 or 8 touches for people to take action. So if you reach out to a candidate, we're not the only shop in town that's hiring. Everybody's hiring. We're all fishing in the same pool. People get reached out to on numerous different ways. So it's very important to think about, put yourself in the candidate's shoes. How would you respond? Would you respond to a Facebook ad or a LinkedIn outreach, an email? Would I pick up the phone if somebody called me and I don't know the number? How do I feel about if somebody called, text me? There's so many different ways to reach out to people. And you really have to always, no matter whether it's 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or 10 years from now, put yourself in the candidate's shoes and think about, how would I respond? If somebody reached to me in this manner, would I respond? I think that's very important.
No, I mean, I think that those are all absolutely relevant ideas and thoughts around it. And I think that candidates, they want to be reached out to, right? And I think that younger candidates, and it might be a younger generation thing, I don't always answer my phone if I don't know the number, but if you leave a message and followed it up with an email or a text, I will get back to you. And I do like recruiters being persistent. I don't think one attempt at calling somebody is sufficient. And something that we do here in our organization is we are very committed to reaching out to candidates immediately. So we have a policy that every candidate that comes into our system must be reached out to within 72 hours. They have to be dispositioned within 3 days. And our reasoning behind this is we're paying you pay a lot of money to bring candidates in, whether you're sourcing them, whether you're advertising, however you're putting those job postings out there, you're paying a lot of money to bring candidates in. And then just ignoring them and treating them badly when they get there just starts off the whole process in a negative way. So if our recruiters are reaching out within 72 hours with first, an email, a call, or a text, we have so many candidates that have said, oh my gosh, wow. Especially if we call the same day or the next day, they're like, oh my gosh, somebody actually looked at my resume. They can't believe it because they're used to that bad experience everywhere. And just by shifting the frame of mind of how we work in our process, we've been able to be extremely successful in healthcare recruiting by being people, by being humans, and by communicating. And so that's something that's been really important for us, is staying consistent and contacting them and talking to them early and often. That's one of our catchphrases. Like, you talk to candidates early and often, always.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And everybody knows the 4 famous words: time kills all deals.
Yes,
if you don't reach out, if you don't reach out to the lead or the candidate, somebody else will. And whoever has the most compelling story the quickest might be able to hook this candidate. So I couldn't agree more. It's so important. And if it doesn't work the first time you reach out, keep at it. Don't give up.
Right.
If you honestly feel that this candidate might be a great person for your organization, a great lead, then try different avenues to reach out to them. But again, time kills all deals. And the same with making an offer or setting up an interview. Make sure everything is aligned really nicely, that the candidate has a great experience, that they feel that you're engaged with them. And if there is any lapse in time in between different stages, engage them, sending them some information about your organization. And maybe there's a LinkedIn post from your CEO that you can send to them, or maybe there's an article about your organization or something that pertains to them of what they're going to do. Just keep them engaged and be top of mind.
That's a great idea, Marjorie. I think that a lot of recruiters have a hard time re-engaging old candidates because one of the things that a lot of us are taught is you don't want to go to a candidate with no new information, right? And so sometimes that's what you'll see candidates posting about, oh, I was ghosted again. They never called me back. And I think that we as recruiters have to get in that frame of mind. When we have new information, we reach out to them. So like you said, a CEO's post on LinkedIn, hey, did you see this? Are you still interested in this organization? I know a lot of recruiters are using CRMs. We use an AI tool, and we actually send new jobs on about a 3 to 6 month basis to people that are in our system, identified as potential future candidates. And we just re-engage them. And you have to do it multiple times. And, it would be extremely time consuming if you were doing it everything yourself, but using technology to help make those connections. And then it gives the recruiter the time to actually have those really great one-on-one conversations on the phone. So we try to surround ourselves with technology that makes the connections, but then we obviously make the relationship there.
Yeah, I agree. Anything you can automate, please automate. Yes. Work smart. Yeah. Everybody already works hard. Let's work smart. But anything that can be automated, any templates that you as a recruiter can make, but you have to personalize it. So a lot of people don't know that, your signature line, for example, in Outlook, you can create multiple templates in there. So for example, if I wanted to have my first outreach, and I would call it outreach number 1, it could be a template. And how you click to choose your signature, right? You can choose a template. So you can automate a lot, even though your company might not have the technology. There is technology at your fingertips that you can, and even if you have to have different Word documents that you copy and paste, no need to retype intro emails all the time. There's a lot that you can do, but don't forget, it has to be very personalized. Right. Otherwise, people are going to think they're just one of many. People like feeling special.
And they know that, and they know that, they know that they're also one of many when they're applying for jobs. They know that there's other people in the field, but when recruiters take the extra time to, like you said, customize or personalize just a simple email, making sure the name is spelled correctly on it, and that the corresponding information about the job they applied for is correct. Those kind of things, they make a difference for candidates. candidates. They want, they're in the marketplace looking for a job. They want to know that somebody out there is on their team. And that's what a recruiter is. They are the first point of contact for most companies to a new candidate that could potentially become a new hire and a longtime employee. So, we always talk with our recruiters just about being like always respectful, recruiting responsibly, being ethical in our recruiting, and, talking to all of our candidates early and often. So I'm so glad that I got to talk with you about a lot of this today. I'll ask you a couple more questions as we wrap up. So over the past 16 months, I haven't gone on any vacations or gone anywhere yet. and I'm so sad because I'm a constant traveler in my former life, before all of the craziness that has happened. So I like to ask everybody where you would go on vacation if there was just no budget. If I said you have a full week paid vacation, the time off to do it, where would you go?
I think I would like to go to Indonesia. Yes. So I've traveled quite a bit, as you mentioned. I've been very lucky, especially also as a flight attendant. I've been paid to go to places, but of course the layovers are very short, so you can't really count that. But my father used to be a merchant marine, and he used to go to the West Indies and Indonesia a lot. I never met him. He passed away before I was born. I've always wondered how it was. And we have in Holland, we have a lot of, it used to be a colony for the Netherlands. So there's a lot of people from Indonesia and Holland. The food is amazing. The people are super nice. So I think that would be a fantastic, nice, warm place for me to go to and just see what that's like out there. I'd love to spend maybe a month or something just to really meet the people and maybe an Airbnb so I can be part of the community. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I'm 100% in support of your trip to Indonesia. I would, I think you should plan it as soon as possible, as soon as it's safe to go places. I agree. I think that I just love traveling and I have very much missed it. So I like to ask everybody what they want to do. And then it gives me more ideas of where I can plan my next. So
where do you want to go, Leah? I have to ask you.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding? So I have a huge list of everywhere in the world I want to go, everywhere I've been. I'm very type A. I have a spreadsheet of it and of like where we can go. And then I'll spreadsheet out my husband and our schedules. And he used to have 3-day weekends and I would schedule out for a year in advance when we could maximize our vacation time by like going on a holiday weekend with another when he had Fridays off. So we could take a 9-day vacation and he would only have to take 3 days of PTO.
Smart.
So, I mean, I have this down to like spreadsheet science here. I have a whole list. I very badly want to go to Thailand. I want to go to Japan. I've traveled a lot in Europe and South America. But we want to also take my father-in-law, we want to take him to Scotland and Ireland. So I have quite a few trips planned already coming up. We've got, there's no amount of vacationing that I wouldn't do. I would just do it forever if I could. But I'm not one to usually just like sit and do stuff. We go to museums, we go to, libraries, we go to different cafes. We are very active travelers.
That's good. Yeah. See as much as you can.
Yes.
I agree. Yes.
So before I let you go, Rollis wrote on here, that he thinks it was a great point that one of the key things is thinking about it of how the candidate sees it. And if you can sometimes just step back and put yourself in the candidate's position, think about what you would want if you were being recruited, think about how you want somebody to communicate with you, that you'll often be better off and treat those candidates just with the utmost respect and respect for their time and hopefully bring them on board.
Exactly. Yeah. Always remember the time when you were a candidate, when you interviewed somewhere and you didn't hear from the recruiter, like, are they interested? Are they not interested? What's the next step? So very transparent, explaining what the entire interview process is from the get-go so that they know exactly what to expect is this good practice.
Absolutely. So Marjorie, before I let you go, do you have one last tip for those who are tuning in today, just about how you have been able to create, a very positive candidate experience? Anything else you want to leave the audience with today?
Yes, thank you. Especially now, with COVID, it's difficult to get people maybe in for in-person interviews. and even if you have people coming in for in-person interviews, give it that personal touch, that white glove treatment, no matter who you recruit, whether it's a CEO or a housekeeper or anything in between. An e-card after an interview, that doesn't cost anything. You can subscribe to one of those e-card companies and you send them an e-card. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for letting me be of service. Something like that. If you go to a company like Chick-fil-A and you're ordering something, they always tell you, "It's my pleasure." You feel like you're like at the Ritz-Carlton or something. It's just those little touches that's very special. Making people feel special is just amazing. People love that. An e-card, a phone call, or maybe even a written card, those types of things. I think just that personal touch has made me successful to this day, and I'll keep doing that for sure.
Wow, Marjorie, those are great tips, and those are things that you just don't really think about. I love the e-card idea. I remember I had a conversation with a company and they sent me a $5 gift card for a coffee afterwards. And I talked about that for weeks. I was like, they didn't even know me and they sent me a coffee. Like, how nice of them. And we've all lived a very hard past 16 months and people need to be dealt with care and grace and kindness. And I love that you put such a personal touch into your recruiting. I can very much see why you've been so successful.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I'd love to have you back again and we can talk about whatever you want, whether it's rocket science or marathons or whatever. You're just an absolute pleasure to have. Thank you so much. And to my audience, I will see you again on the next installment of Talent Tuesday Live with Leah. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Leah.
Hi, Jonathan. You did so great.
Thank you. This was so much fun.